Hey, right, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is just some more about asynchronous JavaScript. So in the last video, we went over the different ways to do asynchronous JavaScript, Axios, fetch, Ajax with jQuery. What I want to do here is just teach you about a nice, pretty looking way of doing it, okay? Called async await. So basically, if you watched the last video, which should, again, if you haven't, you should watch it. Basically, anytime we use a function that returns a promise, like Axios or fetch, I'm gonna use fetch for this. Stick to the native JavaScript stuff. Okay, and let me just rebuild this the way that fetch should look. So again, if we're fetching something, then it would be like dot then, and then we get a response, and then we want to turn that into JSON. And then generally we're going to chain off that dot then's promise, return promise. And then again, when that promise resolves, it returns us the JSON data. So JSON. And then we get back, again, console.log JSON. Okay, and just to show you that works, save. Over here. And there you go. So there's the results. Goodie. Okay. So that's nice, but you see how like all these dot thens gets a little icky having all these just dot thens hanging around. It doesn't necessarily look very pretty. So what they did in I don't know when they added this, but it was pretty recently. They added a syntax called async await. It doesn't change how promises work. It doesn't change how any of this works. It just makes it look prettier. So how would you do this? The way to do async await is you have to create a function. So you only can use async await syntax in a function. So if you want to do that, so we'll create a function. So we'll call it grab or grab user. And basically what's going to happen is that we're going to put the word async. That tells JavaScript that this is a function where we're using async await. Okay, it's a function where we're using async await. And then we create the function. And basically I would write the same logic as above. So I'm going to comment this out so that way they don't both run. But basically the way it would work is that I would say there's a variable called response. And it equals await. Now what await means is, what await says, it just says the code that's coming right after this await returns a promise. Don't assign the value to response until the promise resolves, okay? Because otherwise it'll assign the promise to response, which will still be pending. So the wait says wait for that promise to resolve before you assign that you run this line, you run this assignment. Okay, so it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of that first dot then. Okay, don't do this until this till this is done. Okay. And then literally here, I can actually just copy this. Control C. And there it goes. So basically it says this variable will equal whatever this promise resolves to. So then I'll do const JSON. That's the variable name. Await response.json. Okay. And since response, this is technically a promise. It's the resolved promise from this. This basically says, hey, you have to wait till this promise resolves, okay, before you execute, before you make this assignment. And now I can just do console.log JSON. And this looks a lot more sort of like the way you're used to writing code. And then, this just looks prettier, okay? And I can see, okay, first I do the fetch, then I parse the data, and then I console log the data. And I should get up the same result. Now I just have to actually invoke the function. So grab user, save, and let's let that run. And see, you get the same result. It does the same exact thing. It's no different than using the dot thens. The purpose of async await is just to make your code a little bit nicer. There is one downside though. When I was using the dot thens, I would also be able to chain a dot catch. And the cool thing about the dot catch is that if there's an error, okay, I can then go and like console.log the error, which is kind of what the point of that is so that way I can see why there was an error, why was there a problem. But I can't do that. You can't do that when you're using async await. So how do I catch that error if there is one? Well, if you really want to catch the error, well, then what you should do is use the try catch block. So I would just wrap this code up in the try block. So I say, hey, try this code. Hopefully there's no errors. But if something does go wrong, then catch the error, and we'll console.log the error. And you can use this. This is not just for promises. Great thing about try catch blocks is you can use them for anything. So basically, if you're going to use async await and you want to catch errors, this would be sort of the alternative when you're using async await. So then again, if something goes wrong, it'll console.log. Well, let me console.log the error. Right now, I'm not console logging anything. Error. If there's ever a problem. Okay. Cool. So that's the deal with async await. Again, it's just syntactic sugar. It just makes things prettier to look at. But what's really more important is just sort of understanding promises. Once you understand promises and the whole what dot then is doing, then understanding what await is doing makes a lot of sense. It's just saying, hey, don't do anything else until this promise resolves. Once this promise resolves, response becomes equals that. And then again, for some reason it hasn't. This is saying the same thing. Wait for this promise to resolve, then assign it, and then again, this code will just run after this does, because it's only blocking that function's code. So anything outside of the function will still run, even though the function's paused until the promise is resolved. Okay, and that's the beauty of async await. It's basically telling JavaScript to ignore the normal way the call stack works, because normally functions are synchronous, which means the function has to finish before your code keeps going. But async await says, hey, we're going to have some promises in here. If we hit any of those, I'll tell you when we hit the await keyword. Let the rest of the code run, even though that's outside of this function. Just keep going on with the call stack, keep going on with all the other functions that are in queue, then come back to me later. Okay, and to see if we can move forward with this function yet. That's essentially what this async await keyword does. It just allows you to make that function asynchronous, so that way you can only block the code in the function, not block your entire thing. Okay, so hopefully that makes all that clear. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Make sure you head over to devnursery.com, sign up for the Slack channel to meet other developers, sign up for the Discord community to meet other developers, and if you're feeling spicy, you can also join the Spectrum chat channel, so that way you can talk to other developers. So my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day.